Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Tuesday, the 20th of November, 2012. I'm Tony Paniagua. It has been 2 weeks since voters re-elected President Barack Obama and Arizona elected a new U.S. Senator, Jeff Flake, to replace retiring Senator John Kyle. Reporter Christopher Conover speaks to Kyle about his years in the Senate and how the country might move forward in a more bipartisan way.
Senator John Kyle, thank you so much for coming in and joining us.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
You're here on the University of Arizona campus to announce that you're donating your papers from all your time in Washington. For the uninitiated, what does that mean?
Well, that's 26 years worth of files that you accumulate as you're doing your business. And they're archived, they're organized, the duplicates are thrown away, and they're ordered up and hopefully indexed in a way that when people want to read about a particular event like immigration reform, they can go back into the papers and see all the things that I worked on, the memos that my staff wrote to me, the drafts of the legislation as we worked it through, and so on. And I will also have papers from my past political campaigns that I think might be useful to people who want to study the politics of it as well as the public service side of it.
And all that will be housed here at the University of Arizona over at the library.
Exactly. So they have a really nice exhibition right now of papers from previous senators. And I think it's just fun to look at some of those things, a lot of old photographs, and people would enjoy it if they can get over and take a look at it.
Well, let's talk about this. You've been in Washington 26 years representing Arizona in both the House, most of that in the Senate. You've decided to retire. We've talked a little bit about this when you announced it. But why retire now?
Why not? It's 26 years. That's a lot of time in public service. And it just seemed to me to be the right time for me. It is something that the more energy you have, I think the better you can do it. And younger people are going to have more energy than those of us who begin to get to senior citizen status. And it's the right thing to do for my family. I think I'd like to get a little time in the private sector before I actually retire.
I was going to say, what's next for John Kyle, if you can tell us?
Well, I don't know yet until I'm out of office. I really can't make any arrangements, but I hope to be able to use whatever I've learned to help others. I hope to be able to spend a lot of time in Arizona as well as perhaps in Washington, D.C., and to be involved in public policy issues in politics as I am here. Get back down at the university, help see how they're doing with the archiving and all the rest of it.
Now, being in Washington that long, obviously multiple presidents have come through the White House, Republicans and Democrats. How have things changed in Washington since you first arrived as a young freshman member of Congress?
For one thing, well, I started out, Ronald Reagan was president when I was first elected, and he's obviously a much different president than, let's say, Bill Clinton or Barack Obama today. The thing that has changed the most, I think, people have noticed, and that is a lack of civility in some cases, and in the last couple of years in particular, the inability of the Senate in particular to get anything done. And there are political causes for that primarily. But we've accumulated now a stock of huge problems, not just one or two, but all of the big issues we keep putting off, kicking the can down the road. We now have to deal with some major problems, primarily involving the debt that the United States has accumulated. And if we're not able to deal with those problems in a sensible way, we're going to find ourselves ending up like Greece and some of the countries in Europe that have borrowed far too much, are too deeply in debt, and can't do what they need to do now without causing great pain to their people.
I'm sure you heard, you mentioned that people have noticed the partisan nature of Washington that's changed over the time you've been there, especially recently. Is this something that your predecessor or the person to fill your seat can help change over time, whoever it is, and the members?
One person isn't going to change it. It's partially a result of the fact that we're now in a 24/7, 365 day of the year political news cycle. As soon as this election is over on November 6th, I guarantee you that the talk show radio folks and the cable TV folks will be talking about the next election, because they love to cover a contest, controversy, and they need to fill air. And when that's the situation in Washington, what are the politicians doing? Instead of focusing on working together to get a bill passed, in a bipartisan way maybe, they're trying to put the other side to disadvantage because, after all, the next election has already started. And I don't know how you solve that problem, but that is one of the biggest problems that we face right now. That and just an unwillingness, in this case on the part of the Senate leader, to bring anything up for people to vote on because he doesn't want his folks to have to cast tough votes. They might be used against them in a campaign. Well, you don't accomplish anything if that's the way you're running the Senate.
Let's talk about some accomplishments as you begin to wrap up your elected political career in Washington. What's your greatest triumph?
I don't know. On balance, it's probably the years and years of working on issues behind the scenes with little accomplishments here and there that are not all that public. The constituent service that I've done for people here in Arizona. But if you're looking for a couple of big bills that I defeated or got passed, for Arizona, I think our Indian water settlements it's really a water settlement for Tucson and Phoenix and the mining community and the farming community, and most especially our Native American community. We really set the stage for all of those controversies being resolved with water and funds that we have developed here, not just those we've accomplished already, but in the future. That's been one accomplishment. One area we've fallen down on is immigration reform. Although we've done a lot to secure the border, and a lot of that I'm proud of that I was directly involved in, it hasn't been secured yet. And now we're seeing that existing law is not even being enforced. So for immigration reform to occur, we've got to have a consensus to enforce the existing law before people will want to change the law. In the national picture, of course, immigration does relate nationally, but the two big things I think I would look at are tax policy, which hopefully will continue to be reformed next year. We've got to prevent the current tax code from coming to an end. The Congressional Budget Office says this will put us right back into a recession if tax rates go up on January 1st, as they automatically will, unless Congress and the President can agree otherwise. And then there's some big national security issues as well, and I'm not going to tick them all up, but cybersecurity is one of them. We've got to get a handle on that. In terms of my accomplishments, I'm very proud that back in 1999, we defeated a very bad treaty that President Clinton actually wanted passed, but the Senate rejected the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. I led that effort. So there are a lot of different things I've done over my career, some to get bills passed, some to defeat bad things. But at the end of the day, it's not how many things your name was on. It's just the work that you did day in and day out to try to bring people together to solve problems that are good for America.
We know when there's a transition in the White House, the former president sits down with the incoming president and talks things out. Do you sit down with the incoming person filling your seat and do the same thing, or are they on their own?
Well, no. I very much hope that my successor will be willing to do that in two respects. I want some of my staff to meet with some of his folks to let them know our experience in staffing up an office to take care of Arizona constituents. We've learned a lot. I hope to impart some of that. And then on how to conduct oneself as a senator, I think I've learned enough to share some ideas. I'm a grandfather now, so I love to give advice, and I'm happy to sit down with whoever wins and at least share my experiences and suggestions as to how to best get a good running start. You've got one chance to make a good first impression, and I'll try to impart that to whoever my successor is. After all, we've got to work for the benefit of Arizona.
Well, Senator, thank you for sitting down with us. Thank you for spending those years in Washington on behalf of Arizona, and hopefully we'll see you in the next chapter.
Hopefully so. Thank you very much.
The internet has revolutionized the way people disseminate and collect their news, and Twitter has become one of these valuable tools for different organizations. Here in Tucson, a University of Arizona professor is studying the way that Twitter is playing a role in spreading information. Luis Carrion has that story.
Twitter is the now common online social networking service that allows users to communicate by text. The system lets people send and read messages of up to 140 characters, known as tweets. Nearly every major news organization has a Twitter account these days, and a new study at the University of Arizona examines just how effective the microblogging website is at spreading news.
This particular project was about looking at how news agencies use Twitter, how we can actually measure how well they're performing on Twitter, whether they're being very effective or not, how they can improve.
University of Arizona professor Sudha Ram is with the Eller School MIS department.
It's one of the top-ranked departments in the university. In this field, we've consistently been ranked in the top 3 or 4, and we're number 1 among all the public universities. So we're kind of proud of that.
Dr. Ram says her department conducts studies of how technology gets used by various organizations, both for-profit and not-for-profit.
And my specific area is essentially in enterprise data management. So it's really all about analytics, understanding what the data is telling you, extracting hidden patterns out of it, making sense out of it.
The objective is to make sense of the role Twitter plays within news agencies. Dr. Ram's study consisted of a dozen major news organizations that use the social media website as one tool for sharing their content. She says her analysis looked beyond the number of followers for each Twitter account.
The lifespan of articles, for example, here's a graph that shows, from the time the first tweet comes out from the agency, it gets retweeted, people reply to it, and so on. You can start to see how the number of tweets start dropping off over time. So this graph shows you the lifespan. And so from our sample, we found that New York Times, Mashable, and BBC had the longest lifespan. And some of the shorter lifespans were from Bloomberg, Forbes, and Wired. Now, that's just one metric that you can use to see how you're doing. Just because the lifespan is short doesn't mean you're not doing well, because it may be that lots of people are actually tweeting about you and retweeting your articles, but they're doing it within a short period of time.
Dr. Ram compiled the data from various news agencies and rendered visual models that reveal patterns for each tweet.
Okay, so right here is the first tweet that appeared at the start of that 12-hour period. And now see what happens. Within the first hour, within the first 6 minutes actually, you see lots of retweets of that article. And then this is all in the first hour. And then you see there's also people who are independently tweeting the same article. These are not people who are retweeting the Mashable initial tweet. So at the end of the 12th hour, you see here that this is the level 1 tweets, the level 2 tweets. There are independent people. And then here's one person apparently who went and read the article, tweeted, and got retweeted by many other people, possibly followers of that person.
According to Dr. Ram, the evolution of a tweet creates ripples across the social media platform and reveals details that could be useful to news organizations.
You'll see how rapidly it's spreading. Within the first 4 hours, you'll see a huge community of people tweeting. And you also start to see these disconnected people out here. So these are people independently who are tweeting New York Times articles, and they are being retweeted. Now, what we also did is we went in and looked at who are these people. Turns out some of these people are reporters who write for New York Times. Others are just people who read articles and they have a very loyal following, or people actually see their tweets and they retweet those articles. So you start to see these layers. This is what I meant when I said there are ripples that are getting created.
The visual modeling of the Twitter lifespan reveals a certain organic pattern. And according to Ram, this information could ultimately help guide organizations in maximizing the reach of their content. She says that this is only the beginning of many opportunities to interpret the data that is being collected.
I love technology. I love what I see in terms of all these apps coming out, the smartphone, the social media platforms. And I know that it's generating tons and tons of data. And I've always been interested in managing the data, making use of it, digging through it, mining through it. And so what really motivates me is now that we actually have access to these huge amounts of data, I feel that you can use the data in a way that benefits people who are using these technology platforms. You can make people's lives easier.
You can find links for more information on Dr. Ram's Twitter study by logging on to our website at azpm.org.
The holidays are typically known as a time for cheer and joy, but they can also lead to depression in many people, which creates different social challenges. Next, we learn about the ancient practice of yoga and how it is playing a growing role in the modern world by battling depression. Mark McLemore has that interview.
And I'm joined by Amy Weintraub. She's a yoga therapist and trainer who's been practicing here in the Tucson area for about 16 years. Let me ask you, if you can, to briefly tell us what led you into this lifestyle. How did yoga become an important part of Amy Weintraub's life?
That's a good question, Mark. I had been depressed myself. I had been on medication for many, many years and meditating, but it wasn't until I took my first yoga class in 1989 and then began a regular daily practice that my mood began to lift, and I was able to slowly, with the supervision of a psychiatrist, the prescribing psychiatrist, begin to come off my medication and use yoga as essentially my daily medication to manage my mood. And at that point, I became passionate about sharing what had really essentially saved my life with other people. So I actually became a yoga teacher, and then I started doing research, working with scientists and writing about it. I wrote the first article on yoga for depression in Yoga Journal, and then was asked to write books about it. So it has been a lifelong passion. It was sort of my dharma to discover yoga, which saved my life and has then therefore sort of led me to support many, many other people in their attempt to manage their own moods with yoga.
Well, since you started down this path, you have, as you said, participated and been a consultant on some research studies looking into the actual changes that are going on within a person. So can you maybe explain what happened to you when you accepted yoga as a form of therapy?
Well, for me, I felt lighter and brighter. You wouldn't recognize me. In my 30s, I was heavier and darker looking. I just had this depressed physiology, because what yoga does is it actually begins to change the physiology. As you begin to deepen your breath, your posture changes. So for most people who have depression or mood disorders, they may have a physiological look of depression. Their shoulders are rounded, they're kind of humped over. There's not a lot happening in the solar plexus. The breath is mostly in the upper chest. And when you begin to breathe yogically, you're breathing down to the bottom of the lungs. It improves your posture. It actually stimulates the vagal nerve, which is a known treatment for depression. And what that does is it deactivates the limbic brain. So that's very important for those people who've had a history of trauma. There's often an overdrive of the limbic brain. The amygdala is firing all the time. Cortisol is flooding the system, and we're constantly in fight or flight. So when we're practicing yoga, we're stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system primarily. And what's happening is we're calming that amygdala. I talk about sort of amygdala whisperers. That's what yoga teachers are. We're quieting that fight or flight. So for me, I began to feel better and better, to the point where I went to my psychiatrist, who had been seeing me for a number of years, and said, I don't feel as though I need to be on this medication. I feel so bright and good. And little by little, we titrated me off that medication, and that's important for anyone who's at home and taking medication. You never want to go cold turkey. But we slowly, and as long as my practice continued, but so for me, what's begun to happen after I became passionate about sharing what changed my life is that organically, I was asked to do trainings for psychotherapists and yoga teachers. So I do many trainings to help psychotherapists work with their clients to help them, empower them to manage their mood, to create more focus, more alignment, so they come into a session and they're feeling more comfortable.
Well, are you seeing a change in the way that therapists and people who deal in the mental health profession are able to accept yoga now as part of their patients' therapy?
Mark, it's amazing to me, because I've been doing trainings for psychotherapists since 2004, and here I am. I've done some trainings in mental health, but I'm not a licensed mental health professional. And more, in fact, W.W. Norton asked me to write a book for therapists, yoga skills for therapists. It's because a lot of therapists have been trained without somatics, without the body involved. And when they begin, more and more therapists are doing yoga themselves, feeling the effects on their own bodies and minds, and they know how important it is to give their clients soothing practices they can do at home, so that they don't have to call up in the middle of the week, but that they have tools that they can use to help them self-regulate, to manage their own moods.
And that's something that's an important part of your new book, Yoga Skills for Therapists, is it's no mat required. You have a lot of exercises that people could do just sitting in chairs as we are now.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for sharing your insight. Obviously, we could talk about this topic for a lot longer, Amy.
Yes, thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Amy Weintraub, thank you.
If you like history, culture, and architecture, then you may want to make plans to visit Bisby this coming Saturday and Sunday. The historic Bisby Home Tour is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year in conjunction with Arizona Centennial. Caitlin Harrington has an interview.
In studio with me now is Marilyn Siebold and Ilana Smirkanich. They're here on behalf of the city of Bisby to talk to us about the 30th annual historic home tour. Thank you for joining me today, ladies.
It's our pleasure.
Marilyn, I'll start with you. You took over this home tour last year. Tell us a little bit about the theme for this year's home tour of Bisby.
This is 100 years. We're celebrating the centennial of Arizona. And all of our homes, most of our homes were built at around 1902. And the latest one, I think, was 1916. So they're very old, historic homes. And we have a church that is on it, St. Pat's Catholic Church, and the Bisby Women's Club that was built in 1902.
Ilana, you have a little interesting story about the church that's going to be part of this home tour this year. So tell us a little bit about what's so special about St. Patrick's Catholic Church.
There was a copper mine owner in Bisby by the name of Thomas Higgins, who was Irish Catholic, of course, and he promised the folks in Bisby that he would donate the land and build a church, a Catholic church, with one stipulation. Typically, Catholic churches' doors face east because that's where the sun rises. And in this case, he told the parishioners that the door would be facing south because when they left the church, they would be looking across the highway at his mining claim.
And Marilyn, in addition to this unique church, there's going to be a couple all the houses are unique and they all kind of have their own theme. But tell us about a couple that stand out. There's one that you said is a doll house is what you call it.
It's very small. It's 638 square feet, and it is a dollhouse when you walk into it. And that one's closest to downtown historic Bisby. They would go from West Boulevard, which is up by the tunnel, and they go about 1.5 miles down to number 12, which is the dollhouse.
And the people that come onto the walking tour, they can walk, or to the Bisby home tour, they can walk or they can drive. Is that right?
Correct.
And Ilana, can you tell us a little bit about where people can go to pick up tickets for this tour?
The Bisby Visitor Center recently relocated to the underground Queen Mine Tour building. It's right off of Highway 80. We will have signage there directing you. We open at 8 a.m. and we close at 5. The tour is $15 and we accept cash or check.
And talk about the proceeds from the tour. You said it's going to be going to a couple of different charities, and there's a few in particular.
In past years, we've donated to such organizations as the Border Animal Rescue. Last year, we gave a $3,000 donation to the Friends of the Bisby Library so that they were able to purchase books, because that typically is our background as a women's club, that they were begun to build libraries and distribute books for the children.
Marilyn, this is going to be a full weekend of event, not just with the home tour, but there's a couple other holiday events going on in the evening. Can you also talk to us about the Women's Club hosting this really cool art raffle as well?
Oh, the art chairs?
Yeah.
The art chair has been going on for about 8 years with the Women's Club. It is a fundraiser for scholarships. People from all over the state decorate chairs and other items, and it's a silent auction, and that is running both days, and the final bidding is 5 o'clock on Saturday. And you can meet the artist between 4 and 5 on Saturday and have refreshments.
Alana, we have about 10 seconds left. If you can tell our viewers the website they can visit to purchase the tickets for the tour.
Yes, go to discoverbisby.com. That's the official tourist site for Bisby, Arizona. And we also have the full press release with all the activities going on that weekend.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
In tonight's video postcard from photographer and editor Eric Rodden, we take you to the Oro Valley Classic Car Show, where you can see dozens of impressive vehicles in one location. Coming up tomorrow night, diabetes rates are increasing dramatically across the country. We'll hear from an expert. And the Heritage and Harvest Festival is coming up this weekend in Tucson. I'm Tony Paniagua. Have a great night.